and welcome back to Teacher Jeff 40K. Today I thought I'd take another trip into the past, into my past in Warhammer 40K, and also the past of Games Workshop and what the codexes used to look like. So when I was about 12 years old maybe, I started playing Space Marines. Give you the air quotes because I had no idea what I was doing. I was 12, I thought the models looked cool, so I got some of them and put them on a table, and I actually don't remember what happened. If I won, if I lost. But I remember I really enjoyed painting the models, but I really enjoyed looking at some of what other people had done with them, just for ideas about like making things that looked really, really cool, the detail work, the customization. So, like I did with the Tau Codex a couple videos ago, where I showed the first Tau Codex ever, I'd like to show my early Space Marine Codex. Now this is not the first Space Marine Codex, because of course Space Marines are quite old. But I did get the Space Marine Codex from 3rd edition, and I have it right here. And I thought this was really, really cool. I'll give you a sec to look at the image on here. I'm going to scan by it because it's really neat. Try to lose some of that reflection and glare. There we go. Yeah, I loved this picture. I thought it was so cool, especially that one guy on the bottom there who's like hefting his bolter. And like he's been shot a few times, but he doesn't care because he's a Space Marine. He's going to blast guys no matter what. And then it goes all the way to the back, and of course there's got to be an explosion in the background, because these guys are badass. So I think this is supposed to be a final stand of the Crimson Fists of some kind, but I didn't know that. I just saw these guys with assault rifles and chainsaws, and I said, this looks dope. I want to play this. So I loved this. And I bought this, and actually I bought all the other Space Marine type army codexes as well, even though I never played them. So I got Blood Angels. This one's not as cool. It's got some neat stuff on the front. You've got sort of a dead Chaos Marine here. This guy's like, I'm going to burn you, and then you got the plasma gun and everything. That was kind of cool. Dark Angels, which was also kind of cool too. You know, you had some plasma guns, and there's a melta-gun in there, and they've got like old armor here. That seems to be like the best angle to not get too much glare on there. But I did really like the front of the Space Wolf Codex. I thought this was really neat. This one lone wolf taking on all these orcs. You know, his helmet. This is the coolest part. So he's got this helmet down here. You can see it's got a bullet hole in it. And on his head, in the same spot as the bullet hole, there's a mark on his head, which means it's been like, you know, he got hit in the head with a bolt or something, didn't kill him, he took his helmet off, and he's still fighting and blasting these guys. This was a really cool picture. So what I'd like to do actually is go through some of them and show you some of the old images of the Space Marines from, I just checked, it's probably, these were copyright, at least this one was copyright in 1998. So it's pretty old. Actually, it's 20 years old now, today. This is a reprint, so I got this in 2001. I got this when I was about 12 years old, 2001. So a little later, but it's got a lot of the older models in there. So if you've seen some of the older Rhinos or the older Marines, you know what they look like. But I'm going to start with this guy right here. This is the entire Ultramarines chapter. All the tanks. Someone went to the trouble. I don't think it was just anybody. I think it's someone who, you know, works for Games Workshop, or used to work for Games Workshop, I guess, at this point. Went to the trouble and assembled all the Marines of the Ultramarines chapter. So you can see all the Rhinos there, and in the top picture, in the middle, those things with the gray tracks, those are Land Raiders. Those are really, really old Land Raiders. So I thought that was really, really cool. I would just, you know, stare at this, like how many guys are there? You've got Devastators, you've got characters. They even have the big plane, I forget what this is called, Stormhawk? No. It's not a Storm Raven, that's the one we have access to now. But this big hulking beast, Thunderhawk. right? Anyways, I've never owned one, so I don't know what it's called exactly. But they had all that, and seeing that Thunderhawk there, like that was an old school, either a Forge World model or it didn't exist yet. So seeing that was really cool. Yeah, all sorts of planes and guns and whirlwinds and stuff, and it was really, really neat. They showed you how the composition of a Space Marine, what their cool tech and gear is, that sort of stuff. I'm not going to go through any of the rules or anything. Obviously, you probably know they've changed over the years. But they did used to have these cool little how to paint sections. So they've got an Ultramarine here. Here's how you paint him. And it's pretty basic too. It's not that you need 18 different paints to paint one guy's eyelens or something. It was, here are 5 basic colors, and here's how you get a table ready army. And a lot of the stuff too, this I really, really liked, was they used to give you ideas of how to make your own terrain, which I thought was really, really neat. And it's something Games Workshop doesn't do anymore, but they used to give advice on how to make things yourself without having to buy Games Workshop products, which they do not do anymore, which is a little sad, but it's a company. What are you going to do? And then here, you'd have sort of a showcase of all the different models and what they could look like in different army colors, and you can see these are some old tanks. Those are old Predators and Razorbacks. That Razorback is a twin heavy bolter, by the way. Who knew, right? You've got, some old Predators, Dreadnoughts, and these old looking Marines. And I've actually still got these Terminators down here. I don't really use them, but I had those Terminators, the ones that are on the really small bases. There's no dynamic pose. They all look like they're hunched together trying to hold in a shit or something. These guys were old school. And some of them look a little silly now too. Just, it's okay. That's a heavy bolter Devastator Marine. With that on his shoulder somehow. Anyways, some of those were kind of silly. But it's really kind of neat to look back. And yet, even more how-to sections, how to paint this Predator tank. And then they'd show you different paint jobs for the Predator or Razorback or a bike, which was pretty cool. And then one thing I really did like about the old codexes is not only did they show you how to paint different models, which, I guess they kind of do in the other ones. They show you the paint schemes, but they'd show you things that were not purchasable items, but what some people had done just by getting creative. So this, some guy created a diorama of the final fight between Horus and the Emperor. And I'm just going to show that to you and let you have a look at it. Very cool. You can see Sanguinius there on the ground, dead, and the Emperor about to confront Horus. Very, very cool stuff. And then some detail sections. Wait, nope. Went the wrong way. There you go, next to it. So you've got Horus and the Emperor right there. I thought that was really, really neat. And they'd go through a special section of special characters. There's some special characters that don't exist anymore, which is kind of cool. So for the Crimson Fists, you have Captain Cortez, who is not a person anymore, so I imagine Pedro Cantor has replaced him. But you still had, what's his name there? Marnius Calgar, Chief Librarian Tigurius, he still existed. The Emperor's Champion, still a thing. And then a couple of other guys. So Chaplain Xavier of the Salamanders, didn't know he was a guy. And then over here you have, this is kind of neat, Veteran Sergeant Lysander. I'll move my hand there. So this is, if you know Lysander, he's a Terminator armored guy, right? Apparently not in the past. Apparently he was a veteran sergeant. This guy only had 1 wound at the time. So he was basically a veteran sergeant that you could sort of attach to a squad and he'd be helpful. He had a special rule called Bolter Drill. You may re-roll, if you wish, the to-hit dice for any bolt or fire undertaken by a squad led by Lysander. If you do, then you must re-roll all the to-hit dice, not just the ones that missed. Ouch. You may only re-roll bolter fire, bolt pistols, and heavy bolters, etc. Oh, okay, you may only re-roll bolter fire. Bolt pistols and heavy bolters, etc. are not affected by this. Okay, so that just is kind of a thing. But yeah, he exists. They had their own special scenario in the back of the book, too, which was kind of cool. And a couple more pictures for you to have a look at of some of the Space Marine heroes and stuff. So that was kind of cool. And then I just wanted to show you a couple of the little images here. So I don't know if you knew this, but the Space Wolves used to be able to take a Leman Russ exterminator. There's a little picture of it right here for you, because of course the Primarch is Leman Russ. So they used to have access to the Leman Russ exterminator. Only the Leman Russ exterminator, though, not anything else. But they had some really neat stories in here, some pictures. Here are a couple of pictures of some stuff. So you can see that at this point in the hobby, like this is a modern Land Raider, but then you'd also have it mixed with some of the old rhinos. So this is kind of in a changeover period. Where they were getting some of the new models, but not a heck of a lot of them. So like the new Land Raider came out, new Rhino came out shortly afterwards. There was a new squad of Tactical Marines, but they also had the old Tactical Marines as well. That looked, they looked a little different. And then here, yeah, yet again, a bunch of custom models. So these were not models that you could purchase. These were models that people had put together using different parts and just having fun. This I thought was super cool. That like missile launcher upgrade that someone made out of a Power Fist, super neat. So stuff like that too. Very cool, very cool. And as for the Dark Angels too, they had a lot of neat stuff to have a look at. So yeah, as I said, it was sort of in this transition period. Oh, here, look. So someone built a Dark Angel's temple. And there's Azrael there with his like little helmet bearer guy. And someone built this whole thing, which I thought was really, really, really neat. Yeah, very cool stuff. And they'd show you too, they'd have a showcase of like two different guys who would like work at Games Workshop or something, and they'd made their own army. So like Force Damocles. So thank you, Mark Bedford. So he this is his army. And then this guy over here had the Emperor's Wrath. And like it'd show you like the troops, special characters, elites, heavy support, and all that jazz. So you had all the different stuff. And they'd show you the special units. And it's worth noting, too, that if you wanted to play Dark Angels, Space Wolves, or Blood Angels, you had to own the Space Marine Codex as well. You couldn't just buy these codexes. You had to buy the Space Marine one as well. So you not only had to buy the rule book, you had to buy the Space Marine Codex, and then your Codex supplement. And I believe I didn't look through the Blood Angels Codex. Yeah, so here you go. Here's a scene with a bunch of Blood Angels models. So you've got, again, some of the old and some of the new. You can see a lot of these Marines look really old school, that Razorback for sure. And then, my favorite over here, the shittiest looking land speeders in the world. It's hard to focus in on that, it's a very small photo, but they look really, really weird. I'm going to see if I can find a better photo of those guys. But yeah, very, very cool. I really wanted to find a photo of some of the different models that showed like the old ones. Okay, so here, I'll use this as an example. So you can see this is sort of a more modern looking Tactical Marine. And then right next to him, you have a much older Assault Marine. Look at that bolt pistol. That is some old school stuff. Even the helmet, everything. They look a lot older. And even these guys, the Tactical Marines, these are out of date now, and they look a lot more modern. So they've actually revamped the kit since then as well. Some very cool stuff. Yeah, and once again, an Army showcase from some guys who work. This one has a more modern land speeder in it, but an Army showcase. Dante's Devils, and then Force Barbarossa. This there, so you can see on the side here, he's got the old Land Raider that looks. I'm not going to say it looks good. I don't like the look of this thing. It looks like, you know, some evil guy's tank from a Saturday morning cartoon or something. I'm not a huge fan, but it's kind of cool to see back, look back, and look at all those different guys, the different stuff inside the old codexes. So these are probably from 3rd edition, I think. 3rd going into 4th, and then I kind of I stopped playing Warhammer for a little while and came back to it. But yeah, I've still got a couple of other codexes milling about somewhere, so I'm probably going to try and have a look at them. I think I have Orcs and Necrons, so we're going to have a look there. The Necrons, unfortunately, it's not a modern codex, but it came out around the same time that the Tau came out, and the Necrons got a bunch of new models. So it's not the super old Necrons, the big, like, metal ones. It's when they first, like, the Warriors first got their plastic kit. I think it's the same Warrior kit as it is today. But there is some older stuff in there to have a look at anyways. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this. If you've got any, like, old photos or stuff to share, please, you know, send a link or something my way. Let me know. That'd be really cool to see some of that stuff. Anyhow, hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching.